Trump and the Biden campaigns over the weekend declared their candidate the winner of Thursday night's presidential debate. What a shock. Do you really believe that Joe Biden's going to stand up and tell everybody, after the debate, I gave it some thought, I think Donald Trump won? Or do you think Donald Trump's going to say, I have to tell you something. I really tried my best, but Joe Biden just did better today. I mean, this is that's the top news of the day. They both declaring they're the winner.
Well, obviously.
Obviously, right? Biden said, well, that's for the public to judge. I felt good about it. I thought the moderator did a great job. But in the official campaign statement, they said Joe Biden won the debate. Meanwhile, the 2020 campaign manager, Bill Stepien, declared in a statement he is the campaign manager of Donald Trump. He said President Trump won this debate, and it was a blowout. On Saturday, Trump arrived in Wisconsin while you were down partying in Jersey. He went to Wisconsin to go spread coronavirus. He said he's feeling better. We don't know for sure. His only acknowledgement of the spiking rate of the virus in Wisconsin, though, where there was 4,660 new cases and 28 deaths on Saturday, was to claim that the United States death count included people suffering from other ailments like heart disease. So now, if you die of COVID, but you want to know what? You had some other ailment, you died of that ailment. You didn't die of COVID anymore. You have a weak heart. Donald Trump is now assuming you died of a heart attack. Had nothing to do with COVID.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh,
come on. BS is this. Later Trump said, we're rounding the turn. There's no rounding the turn. We're bobbing up and down in the sea, and there's absolutely no end in sight of this, yo-yo. That is the problem. No end in sight. As a matter of fact, Mark Meadows, he is Trump's chief of staff. He acknowledged Sunday on a news program on CNN that the Trump administration won't be able to do anything about the spread of COVID, and they're focusing on getting a cure. Now, let me tell you something. This is the problem, okay? The Trump administration can't focus on getting a cure because they're not freaking scientists. Only scientists can focus on a cure. What politicians can focus on is public health aspects, getting people to social distance, getting people to wear a mask, getting people to follow freaking directions.
That is very true.
White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, I'm quoting him now, he told CNN, we're not going to control this pandemic. We're done. We're going to control the fact that we're going to get vaccines, therapeutics, and other mitigations. When Jake Tapper, he is the CNN host who was interviewing Meadows, said, why aren't we going to control this pandemic? I'm a little confused. And Meadows responded, because it's contagious. Which is why you have public health issues of wearing masks, social distancing, blah, 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 blah. Trump doesn't want to hear it.
That is wild. That to me sounds like the government just gave up on their people.
Just gave up.
Yeah.
9 days before an election.
It's wild to me that they're saying this, but Trump still says that this isn't a serious disease. Remember, he said he feels like Superman. He was cured in a day.
Yeah, and we're rounding the corner. And by the way, Trump had a team of doctors at the best hospital in the United States of America with the best therapeutics and the best medicine. And maybe if everybody had the best doctors, the best therapeutics, and round-the-clock care in a private presidential suite, maybe we'd save some lives. But that's not the state of health care in America.
At all.
Meanwhile, Joe Biden, he said of all of this, basically Trump abdicating his duty, the White House abdicating their duty on the coronavirus. He said, they've given up their basic duty. This is exactly what you said, Yo-Yo. They've given up on their basic duty to protect the American people. This wasn't a slip by Meadows. It was a candid acknowledgement of what President Trump's strategy has clearly been from the beginning of this crisis. Wave the white flag of defeat, hope that by ignoring it, the virus would simply go away. It hasn't, and it won't. There's an election coming up, Yo-Yo, in 9 days. What a stark choice of candidates.
Right.
And both candidates obviously don't give anybody or very few people exactly what they want. But there is certainly one candidate who gives them a lot more than the other.
The other, absolutely.
Now,
what sucks?
Yeah, what?
It's like, if Biden does win, like the fact that Trump is literally leaving the House in mayhem and just like having Biden to have to clean everything up, like it's going to suck for him because a lot of people are going to probably say that Biden messed up a bunch of stuff because Trump literally is going to be leaving it. Hopefully he's leaving the White House, but like he will literally be leaving it on fire.
Trump has changed more regulations and more executive orders than any president in the history of the United States. So there's going to be so much that has to be undone. President Obama had a very famous line, running the United States of America is like driving a huge tanker. You just can't stop it in the middle of the ocean and turn it around. It takes time. All of this is going to take time. It's not going to be a miracle, unfortunately, which is why I said at the top of the show, I think we're going to be with coronavirus for a while.
For a while.
Sadly.
She. Man.
Damn.
Ah.
Okay. Meanwhile, in the United States now, there have been more than 8.6 million people diagnosed with COVID, more than 225,000 deaths. The United States has hit its highest 7-day case average since the pandemic began. Last Friday, the United States reported more than 85,000 new cases of COVID, the highest daily record since the pandemic. Dr. Anthony Fauci said we may not get the findings on the safety of potential vaccines until December, and widespread availability won't come till next year. Now, I have to be honest, in Donald Trump's defense, when he says we have more cases now than ever, 85,000 cases, it's because we're doing more testing. Maybe it is. I don't know if the number of 85,000, the number is how many people we have in the hospital with COVID. Okay?
Right.
Because if you get COVID and you're not going to get hospitalized, you don't feel well for a few days, and you may give it to somebody who may end up in the hospital. But what we're concerned about, I think, with COVID is people getting really ill, people getting hospitalized, people having to get ventilators, and perhaps dying. I wonder if the hospital rate is up. I believe it is, and maybe we'll have those statistics tomorrow. That's really the key to me. The big non-news of the day is that it looks like Amy Coney Barrett, it's fade day complete. She is the Supreme Court nominee, and she, in a breakneck confirmation process, perhaps one of the fastest in the history of the United States of America, plans to be certified as the next Supreme Court judge at 7:30 this evening, around the time when we're just about finishing up social media check-in. Early Monday, Senate Democrats asked Vice President Mike Pence not to preside over the final confirmation. He said, not a chance in hell. Of course I'm going. Because Amy, she could be casting the tie-breaking vote in any election dispute that ends up in the Supreme Court. President Trump, on Saturday, he voted in West Palm Beach, Florida, in person, and he said, more shocking, boy, the news is amazing today. Who'd you vote for, Donald Trump? He says, I'm quoting him, I voted for a guy named Trump. Now, Trump arrived at the Palm Beach County Main Library shortly after 10 a.m. According to a pool reporter, there were supporters on the stretch of road just outside the Mar-a-Lago and right around the library waving and cheering several Trump 2020 signs. By the way, this is actually an interesting statistic. We have 9 days left until Election Day, but meanwhile, 60 million Americans have already cast their vote, either by early voting or by putting their vote in the mail. That is more than everybody who did pre-election ballots for the 2016 election, and we still have 9 more days to go.
Good.
And congratulations to my son, Zachary Bernstein. He's 19 years old. He voted today, first time in his life.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I did not take him, but he FaceTimed me from when he was, because I was working. He went down, I think, by Madison Square Garden. They were doing early voting. So I said, who'd you vote for? And I leaned into he said, Biden. Biden.
Okay.
I said, okay,
All right.
You get dinner tonight. Meanwhile.
And for the rest of your life.
That's right. Because so many voters have already cast an unprecedented number of mail-in ballots, it may take days to call the race. I don't think that they're going to be able to figure out on election eve, like they normally do, who's the president. That's why,
really?
That's why many news outlets are going into rehearsal mode behind the scenes as they continue to cover ongoing election and voting news. The Associated Press, for instance, performs drills. Sally Busby, Senior Vice President and Executive Editor of the Associated Press, told CNN, "We are very much prepared for the fact that it could go longer than election night. It also could last until the next morning or until the next afternoon or even later. So we are very prepared for all scenarios." I mean, you can't just have one camera guy there till, 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. You got to bring in new people. You got to bring in new newscasters. If we were doing our election day, at some point you would get tired. You're like, where's Nesquik? All right, I'm taking a break, right?
Absolutely.
So they got to figure that all out.
Golly, so that means it's going to be even more of an anticipating moment. Like, we have to wait to find out.
Pope Francis, he has appointed America's first black cardinal. Did you know about that? I'm reading this for the first time. I did not know about this. Last year, Wilton Gregory made history as Washington, D.C.'s first American archbishop. On Sunday, speaking following his Angelus prayer from St. Peter's Square in Vatican City, Pope Francis tapped Gregory to become America's first black cardinal. Archbishop Gregory is one of 13 to be elevated to the rank as a surprise consistory or ceremony. In fact, Archbishop Gregory is the only black archbishop in the United States of America. The leader is known for guiding the Catholic Church through its clergy sexual abuse crisis in the early 2000s. Since 2005, he led the Archdiocese of Atlanta before being appointed Archbishop of Washington, D.C. in 2019. The veteran leader was replacing Cardinal Donald Wuerl, who resigned in October 2018, bowing to public anger over his role in the sexual abuse crisis. Meanwhile, during an appearance in a new documentary called Francesco, Pope Francis departed from Catholic teachings, and he endorsed also this week same-sex unions. Francis said gay people were children of God, and he remarked, "You can't kick someone out of a family, nor make their life miserable for this. What we have to have is a civil union law. That way they are legally covered." Wow, what a change for the church. That's huge. That is huge. That is very, very big. I never thought that would happen, but I'm glad it is. It is. I think listen, it's not my religion, so who am I to comment? So I won't. But I was just thinking, I'm like, one day I think, hopefully priests should be able to get married too.
I'd be down for that.
I'm not sure the religious reason why not, and maybe someone who's Catholic can fill us in. One day maybe they should. I don't know. A Labrador gets headbutted by a guilty pal for snitching to owner about a messy floor. People have been left in stitches by a dog who snitched on his guilty pal and the brutal way he reacted to the betrayal. The owner was holding his hand out to his 4 dogs, 2 white Labradors and 2 smaller brown curly-haired pooches who are all lined up in front of him. As they all stare back innocently at him, he questions them about a piece of torn fabric left on the ground, asking, "Who did this, huh? Who did this?" Until one of the Labradors reveals the culprit. The adorable white lab gingerly taps his pal of the same breed, appearing to reveal who committed the naughty deed. The less than impressed accused friend then headbutts the snitch multiple times for the betrayal. The owner from the popular TikTok account Pets Baby captioned the short clip, "Don't lie," with 3 angry emojis. Let's watch. I didn't see it. Let's see. There he is. Who did this? Who did this? It was him. It was him. Oh my God, what are you doing to me? I have to see that one more time. I got to see that one more time, Julian. Who did this? Who did this? It was him. It was him. He did it. It was my friend next to me, George. Oh, I believe you. Believe you. All right. As the British Zoo, by the way, a zoo separates 5 parrots from the birds, were caught encouraging each other to swear at guests. That's really funny, too. At the British Zoo, Lincolnshire Wildlife Centre, keeping some of the birds' residents' vocabulary limited to some G-rated language has proved very challenging out there in the UK. According to the Associated Press, Billy, Eric, Tyson, Jade, and Elsie, who were all welcomed to the park in August, were removed from each other's presence since they were encouraging each other to curse and rally in expletive-filled rants at the zoo guests as they were coming in. Steve Nichols, the zoo's chief executive, said, "We are quite used to parrots swearing, but we've never had 5 at the same time cursing. Most parrots clam up outside, but for some reason, these 5 relished it." Now, though most visitors who overheard the colorful language laughed it off, the zoo decided to take measures to nip the behavior in the bud. The 5 parrots are spread out to different areas in the zoo so they don't, according to Nichols, set each other off in an F-bomb expletives. Nicholas told BBC News that the foul-mouthed birds would swear to trigger a reaction or response, So when park visitors burst into laughter or other birds reacted at their interjections, they'd hurl more F-bombs.
Hilarious.
Is that hilarious? Can you imagine, like, you walk into the zoo, you're like, F you! F you!
Right.
I'm like, what?
Right.
Like, cursing everything, giving everybody the F-bomb.
I think it would be better for them all to just be in one place. Now they're just going to have a bunch of birds all over the zoo cursing at them as they walk through the bathroom. Like,
yeah, like, why? Yeah, pal, I'm just going to the bathroom. Why are you cursing at me, you know?
Like, what?
Animal rescuers in California made an early morning visit to a bank to chase away an unusual pair of masked bandits, young raccoons. The Peninsula Humane Society and the SPCA said personnel responded to the Chase Bank branch in Redwood City, California, after receiving a call from a bank customer who spotted the animals through the window. SPCA spokeswoman Buffy Tarbow said, "It's not every day an animal organization gets called to deal with a bank break-in, but since the bank robbers were masked bandits of the wildlife kind, we were indeed the appropriate responders." Now, I'm going to tell you something. It's not a very, I wouldn't want my money there. If two dumb raccoons could break into the bank overnight, I mean, don't you think a robber would be able to get in there too and get your money?
Yeah, this is true.
I don't know if I would trust that. What is it? Is it the Chase Bank in Redwood, California? Seems very easy to break in. She said the raccoons were reluctant to leave, saying the bank managers led our rescue staff into the bank, and after about 10 minutes of chasing the raccoons around the bank, we were finally able to safely shoo them outside.
I feel so uncomfortable in there, though. Like, imagine a raccoon, like, all in your desk and on your seat and stuff like that, and, like, you find out after. I think that's just, it's not clean, unsanitary.
I'm just trying to picture the bank manager calling the head of the safety of the bank, like the top safety guard, and says, "We had a break-in last night, 2 raccoons. If 2 raccoons can break into this bank, anybody can. That's what terrible security they have there, right?"
That's horrible.
That's horrible security for that Chase Bank. There is a 176-pound pig that a woman shares her home with, and she treats this pig like it's her own little baby. An influencer in the United Kingdom, of course everything happens in the United Kingdom, who shares her home with a 176-pound pig, says she treats him like her child with cuddles on the sofa and playtime in the garden. Simone Partner from Bath, UK, grew up on a farm in the countryside and always wanted a pig of her own. The 28-year-old, who posts beauty videos on YouTube and is known as Eltoria on social media, signed for her first home 3.5 years ago and bought Milo the pig to move in. Cost her $650 US, about 500 UK pounds. The YouTuber and her fiance Joe take care of their parenting very seriously. I am surprised that Joe still wants to marry this woman. She lives with a pig. Would you be living with a pig?
Absolutely not. I can barely look at the pictures.
You know, there's something called I don't want to live in a pigsty, right?
Right.
I would come home to my kids when I'd come home from work when they were young, and they had all their toys all over the living room. And I would say, I don't want to live in this pigsty.
Yeah.
Now that I have my kids grown up, why in the world would anybody want to have a pig and actually live in a pigsty?
That's legal to just have a pig at your house like that?
In Bath, the United Kingdom, it is, that's for sure.
That's a grown man, 176 pounds.
That's like a horse, but it's a pig.
That's a grown man, 176 pounds.
That's more than I weigh. That's like having Uncle Brad as a pig.
Disgusting.
I weigh less than 176 pounds.
Damn. I weigh a lot. Oof.
Well, you're much taller than me.
Oh, this is true.
All right, come on. Where do I come up to you on you? I come up to probably your chest, right? My bald head comes right up to your chest. Yo-Yo looks down at me and goes, "Who are you talking to?"
The only time you look.
You talking to me?
Talking to me?
You talking to me? You talking to me, small man? An Indiana family visiting Tennessee captured video of a black bear wandering up to their unoccupied car, opening a door and climbing inside. The Franzik family said they traveled from Crown Point, Indiana to Sevierville, Tennessee to celebrate their grandmother's birthday. The father, Brian, told WBBM-TV, "One of our bucket list things to do was see a bear." Well, now they did. Mom Carly said, "I just screamed, 'Oh my God, there's a bear! The bear bear is in the driveway. Again, the most obvious news in the world, right? I mean, what are you going to do if you see a bear opening your car in the driveway? What are you going to say? You're going to say exactly what Mom Carly said. I just screamed. Oh, my God. There's a bear here. The bear is in the driveway.
It's wild, though. It's wild how they know how to open doors, though.
That's a smart freaking bear. They're smart freaking... These bears are smart. They're not dumb animals. Obviously, right? By the way, that bear opened. Is that bear? Go back to that picture. The bear is looking under the engine of the hood right now, looking like, oh, let me fix this carburetor here, or maybe let me pull this wire out so they can't chase me. I mean, it's a smart bear. He's tinkering under the hood. Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency recommends residents and visitors keep vehicle doors locked at all times. Make sure food and trash are secured where the animals can't reach. And if you do see a bear in your driveway opening your door, you should do what Mom Carly did, which is scream, oh my God, there's a bear here! The bear is in the driveway! Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.